Okay, so another Q&A session. Hi everyone. This time it's a bit different. I thought instead of just me speaking to the camera and you have to see my face all the time and also I have to see my face all the time. We can do something different. I thought we can make some music, build a nice patch. Maybe it will be nice, maybe it will not be nice. But just make some sounds while I go through the questions. See if it's fun. Let me know what you think about this idea. And actually, before we start with everything, I want to mention again the monthly Discord challenge. Last month, let me see what were the words. We had a challenge to build a patch. Never mind if it's hardware, VCV rack, Ableton, whatever you want to use. To build a patch with 3 words in mind. So it was outgoing, ripe, and excellent. It was a tough one. I know there are a few submissions, I think 3 submissions. I will play them at the end of this video. And for next month, or for this month actually, I thought about something like a 1-minute generative music or generative patch. Again, you can do this in hardware, in software, Eurorack if you want different synths, Digitect, Digitone, whatever you want to use. But it should be approximately 1 minute long, and it should be generative, mostly generative, let's say. And you have to tell a story, or the equipment you use, the instrument you use has to tell a story, generative story in 1 minute. I think it will be quite interesting. So this is the challenge for this month. Of course, again, all of the details will be in the Discord, in the Patreon Discord channel. So please, if you are a Patreon, join our Discord. If you're not a Patreon, consider joining us. It can be fun. Okay, so let's start with the first question. And you know what, before this, actually, let's have some sound. I have here beads from Mutable Instruments. By the way, those things here are for my cables. So each bag is for a different length. So let's go with this one here. And I will just quickly patch beads. So beads, if nothing is patching the inputs and it's not frozen, it will generate a wavetable. And of course, this is not enough. Okay, let's do it here. Let's say 7 and 8. So now it will generate a wavetable. Here I have VCV rack, as you can see, that I can route everything. And because it's not 1 and 2, it's the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see. So this is the wavetable of beats. Let's just quickly see if we have to tune this. No, it's tuned. I just have here a guitar tuner that I'm using to tune my oscillators. Let's add some reverb and let's actually make this full wet, just so we can add also some modulation here. Just so we have some movement for the first question. This will be our background. I have here my phone with the questions. So the first one is from Stephen Benedict. It will appear on the screen also, I hope. You are already involved in so many things. I don't know how you do it. I don't sleep, Stephen. But I wonder if you ever see yourself switching gears or focusing on other additional things like producing or mastering. Are there other places musically that you want to go that you are not already doing? Wow, okay, this is a big question. Steven, I just started. I'm just at the beginning. It sounds, from your question, it sounds like I'm 40 years already making music. Let's do something like this. I have so many things still to do. I'm just at the beginning. If I'm switching gears or focusing on other additional things like producing or mastering. So I don't think producing is my thing. I'm not so sure actually, because it's not really... Yeah, it's hard for me to make decisions so much. I'm more of the intuitive person. I listen to a sound and I go from there. I don't think producing other people is something I can do so easily. Maybe I have to try. Mastering, also, I don't think I will go there. What I am already starting a bit is visuals. I started to create visuals with Touch Designer. This is an aspect, audio reactive, of course, not just visuals, audio reactive, generative and audio reactive visuals that we can work with my music. This is something that I wanted to do for a long time, and now I discovered Touch Designer. I'm just going to make here a small sequence. You know what? We can do it from the MOOC slicer maybe. So I discovered Touch Designer, which is quite cool. It's also modular. So I feel at home, basically. I'm just sending the MOOC slicer to the harmonic. So I feel at home with the modular environment. And I'm just starting out. I made a few projects already. Oh, not to the input, sorry. To the... Now it's starting to the... Where is it here? I made it send it to the input. Soon it will start again, the wavetable. So, visuals, audio reactive visuals. There are many things I want to try. I want to try... What am I doing? It's difficult to speak. To speak and to patch. Wow, it's really difficult. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but we will try. So I'm just sending a sequence just so we have something a bit movement. So I want to go live, physically live, not live on YouTube, at least once. I'm not so sure this is the thing for me, but I want to try it at least once with the modular, of course with a smaller case, not with this case. This is something I want to try. I want to try also some sort of an installation or something, to have my music running in some sort of an environment, if it's a museum, if it's something like this, a cafe or something. So this is also something. I want to collaborate more with other people. I want to play live with other people also, more in a band like, so with bass and drums. Oh, and also drums. I want to go back playing the drums. I want to add drums, not programmed drums. I want to play the drums with my music. I think it can be really cool. So there is so much more, Steven. Really, I'm just at the beginning. I just started. Yeah, I'm having fun. Okay, so before we go on to the next, move on to the next question, let's patch another thing here. Let's see, I will take the clock output. Now I have to concentrate. I clock output to the voltage block. So I have here a sequence. Let's take sequence 1 and let's randomize it and randomize the sequence. So I have a sort of a random modulation here because I want to modulate the inversion of harmonic. So let's do this. So now we have even more movement. Something like this. Let's see a different quality on beats here. Let's go with the tape quality. Maybe it will be a bit more interesting. Oh yeah. I can also do something like this. Let's add another voice and then we will continue with another question. I'm sorry, it's going to be a long video, I see it already. But still, maybe it will be fun. Who knows? Who knows? Can this reach here? I will take another, no. And take another pitch output from harmonic to the bassimilus. And I will use also the gate output, which is also needs also another long cable. So I will take the gate output. We'll see also, let me just see for a second if it's really recording here. Very nice, okay. So another voice, quickly this will go, let's go to the mimeophone. I like bassimilus to mimeophone is always nice. Bassimilus to mimeophone. Let's see. Can this reach there somewhere? Yeah, 5 and 6. 5 and 6? Let's see, 5 and 6. Down a bit. The Bassimilus is always so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's also always so loud. Okay, let's move on to the next question and we will continue with patching in a second. The next question is from Max Pinato. Too many modules, I guess, in VCV. Do you suggest to have a minimal patch of well-known modules in case some suggestions, best practice guidelines, or try to know all modules in the library and use the right one in the right patch with the right track? Thanks a lot for all your contents. Thank you, Max. So let's start with this. First of all, no, don't try and learn or know or use even all of the modules. Don't do this. It will not help you. It will just confuse you and you will not learn the modules in a deeper way, I guess, if you can call it this. Again, we are speaking about VCV. Try and pick 1 or 2 modules from different categories. So for example, an envelope. You need an envelope generator. Try and find 1 or 2 and use them. I usually use, for example, I can show you this here. Yeah, I can show you this here with the laptop. I use usually the AD envelope from Nischi. Maybe I can zoom in a bit. I usually use this module. I love this module. It has everything I need. I know there are other envelope generators out there in VCV that one might consider better. I also like the ADSR from VCV, by the way, because of the CV inputs. There are many more. I use those 2 most of the time, not always. Recently I started using also size from Struo, which I have here also as hardware, and which is also really interesting because of the gate outputs, CV inputs, and the gate output for each of the step. So again, choose 1 or 2 or even 3. Better to choose 1 or 2 and just concentrate on them. Build a patch, build 2 patches, 3 patches, work a whole week with those modules and see if they work for you. If not, change and try to find a different module that will work better for what you need. But limitations are always nice. If you try and use all of the modules, if I remove those, let's see, I cannot reach the keyboard. If I will remove those and I will go and I will say envelope, there are 40, not all of them are envelopes, but there are 40 different modules that are in the envelope category here, and you can use so many. I think it's too much. I would go with 1 or 2 modules. You can choose also a module that is multifunctional, like Rampage, for example. Can be so many things. You can have it in your patch always. Just save a sort of a template that you will use. It doesn't have to be a full fixed track, but just try to use them more often. And don't try to use everything. Don't, just have 1 or 2 modules in each category, envelope, oscillators, and just experiment with them and try to learn them more deeply. And if you think they are working for you, then great. If you don't think they are working for you, then you can always change. I know it's easy to just download everything, install everything, and use everything every time, but it will get boring quite easily and quite quickly. Let's see the rest of the question. Do you have a minimal patch of well-known modules? So no, again, it's something that for each will work differently. The modules I use might not work for you. So it's for you to experiment with. And again, don't try to learn everything. Don't try to use all of the modules. Yeah, it can be quite confusing. Okay, the next question, let's just see the question and then... What are your favorite lesser-known, unorthodox lesser-known techniques and or modules, and how do you go about finding these weird techniques? Is it just messing around or do you have a process? Wow, this is a nice question. If I have a favorite unorthodox lesser-known technique and or module... I'm not so sure about this one. I guess you're also speaking about VCV rack. I'm not so sure about this one. I like sending drums through Rampage. I don't know how unorthodox this is. I like sending voices through comparators, for example. I'm not so sure how unorthodox this is or how it's not so known, but this is something I like. I like carpless strong. I like sending all sorts of bursts. Let's do this now. Wow, let's do this. Let's try and make a sort of a carpless strong voice. Let's see, I will use some sort of trigger. The Mimiophone has a trigger output. Let's send the trigger output to the 4MS dual delay. And now let's see first of all how it sounds like. I will just send it directly to the output so we can listen to it and then we can change things. So let's see, this will go to channel 1. Here I have one cable. I see that the trigger is it's happening too often, I think. So we'll use a different trigger. Which trigger can we use? Let me think. Something interesting. Okay, let's use one gate output from the Moog slicer. So we'll get it not so often. And this will be channel 1 again. So let's see. So this click you heard was this click. Let's raise the delay feed and also the mix all the way up. And let's wait for it. This was I need a quicker clock. Let's do something with this. Let's wait for it again. I need more feedback. So now I'm sending just a click to a short delay with high feedback. It's not short enough. I need an oscillator. Do I have? I can use the CSL. The CSL? Why did I call it the CSL? The TSL. To send a pulse, a clock to the 4MS dual delay. And a bit more feedback. Let's see. Yeah, so I like Carplay Strong sending clicks and all sorts of noises to a really short delay with high feedback. I'm not so sure again how unorthodox this is. Let's send it also to a bandpass filter. I have here Freak. Let's just change this to a bandpass. I'm not so sure how unorthodox this is. Everything in modular is unorthodox. But let's see. let's use another sequence here. I hope it's okay for you that I'm doing this. It's a bit longer, but I don't like looking at my face all the time. And this is something, it gives me something to do. I feel more comfortable like this, let's say. Okay, let's take a different, let's go back to this. I went back to the trigger from the mimeophone. And I will use another sequence here to change the delay time. So let's do this. It's really hard to reach there because of the mic, but let's see. And time 8. This sound I like. Okay, now of course this doesn't have to go to the output directly. We can send it through the, let's take it out from here, through the emitter versio from noise engineering 1 and 2. So again, I'm going back to the question just a second, the less known technique or module. So yeah, couple strong and sending things, voices through comparators. How do you go about finding this weird technique? So I'm trying to experiment every day. I'm trying to experiment every day from the emitter versio to go to the smallest versio, which is a reverb. I'm trying to experiment every day. I watch and I'm on different forums also just to experiment with different things, and also that are not related to Eurorack. Even if I see something, for example, I really enjoy watching Dash Glitch. I hope you know this guy. He makes a psytrance, but he has lots of sound design ideas with all sorts of things, with Massive, with Serum, with Vital now. And there is so much to learn from everything, even though it's not modular, even though it's not Eurorack or VCV. There's always something to learn. So I'm trying and I'm going and I'm trying things in VCV and in VCV first and trying to see how they will work in a modular environment. Then I try it also with the hardware. So yeah, it's just more of experimentation. Looking how things are working. In a modular environment, even if they are not coming from the modular environment. And just experimenting. I didn't wake up one day and I said, hey, I know how to patch. This didn't happen. Trust me, it took me a long time. It still is. I'm still learning so much. There is always something to learn. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Always just have to keep an open mind, an open ear, and try things, I guess. Nice sound, nice atmospheric sound. Not the best coupled strong sound, but still it's nice. I think there is a mode here for coupled strong, I'm not so sure, but let's see what happens when instead of those triggers, I'm going to use the all gates from the Moog slicer. This is more like it. And now I'm going to modulate the rate of this clock that we use, the TSL. I used it as a clock to ping the delay. So it's just actually trial and error, I guess, and knowing the basics so you know what to reach out for. There is no magic. Oh, sorry, I didn't say your name. Benno Apple. There is no magic. No one wakes up one day and says, oh, I can do this. No, it takes time and you have to have fun. If you don't have fun, then that's a problem. But let's now modulate. Let's modulate the rate 1 and 2. Modulate the rate of this clock. And I have the FM input. Let's see. Let's go with exponential. Yes. I like this sound. I like Carplay Strong. I don't know. It sounds like frogs. Carplay Strong frogs. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This was question 3, so this one is 4. Christian Gentry. As an instructor, I'm always looking for core basic patches that perform simple musical tasks, such as a sequencer, keyboard activated sync, and so on. Do you have a library of core patches or any recommendations? So I myself, I don't have a library. I have... I'm not so sure which tier you are, Christian, but from the Modular Fun Guy and up, so Modular Fun Guy, and I forgot the last tier, I'm sorry. I make presets every month, a preset pack for the Patreons, with concentrating on different aspects. So there are some with sequencers, there are some with voices, for example, a bass, a lead, a pad, with all sorts of different modules, oscillators. Sometimes I think there was one also where I used sequencers as voices. So if you are in the Modular Fun Guy tier or the one up, no, the Modular Fun Guy is the last one. The Magic Mushroom and the Modular Fun Guy, sorry. If you are in those two tiers, so check out the presets. There is a link where you can get all of the presets. Check them out, and it's just something that you can load to any patch using the strip module. Using this here, the strip. What is this now? The strip module from Störmelder, using this one here. I hope you can see it. So you can load the presets, and anyway, have a look also on patch storage. There are more than 4,000 patches there that you can search for different tags. So you can search sequencer, you can search for voice, and you can search for beginner patches and stuff like this, and just go and find thousands, hundreds, or tenths of patches you can use. So this can also be a really nice place where you can find some interesting patches and use them. Okay, the next one, before we continue patching, let's move on to the next question. Let's see. Mike Tor, do you ever experiment with specific scale tunings other than equal temperament? And if so, can you give any advice about how to go about doing that with VCV and or hardware modular? The sad answer I have to, I'm upset about this. That I'm not using other scales. Most of the time I have a minor scale set, and according to the oscillator, how I tune the oscillator, sometimes it will be C minor, sometimes it will be G minor, sometimes it will be something like this, but always I'm always using a minor scale. It's boring, but it's just, sometimes it's just too much for me to concentrate on everything and having the oscillators in tune and changing different scale. Every time I get this question, every time I ask myself also what scale this will be, I always wish I would use other scales, more interesting scales. But it doesn't happen, and I don't know why. But in VCV Rack, I think I don't have it on this computer. But there are quantizers. Maybe I do have Frozen Wasteland. Let me see. No, I don't have Frozen Wasteland here on this computer. But there are quantizers that can work with microtonal scales. Sorry, with microtonal scales. So you can check this out. Yeah, I will put in the description, I will put links to those quantizers so you can use them. There are also, I know the Erica Synth quantizer. I believe there is a quantizer from Erica Synth for hardware that has also microtonal scales that you can load Scala files basically and use whichever scale you want. So no, I'm not experimenting, sadly. It's really, I'm upset about this, that I'm not using other scales, but this is just reality. Yeah, I'm not, but it is possible. I'm just taking the reverb here, just for fun. Yeah, Mike, so this is my answer. Okay, let's patch another. I have a few things here ready on Arbor, so let's just have it for some more atmospheric stuff. Let's see, one. This will just go. We'll just go directly to the mixer. Let's see, 1 and 2. Okay, let's choose. Let's go with the piano. Some reverb, so I'm going to send reverb from the quadrat, just offset, hopefully it will reach there. Offset to the mod input on Arbor, and it has built-in reverb. Let's go with a different. Maybe I have a kalimba somewhere. Playing here with the delay. Just doing some. I need more volume. Just a second and then we'll move on to the next question. Okay. So, Mike, this was my answer. Let's move on. This was 5. This was 5, so 6. Paiche. Hi, Paiche. Was looking at the Intellijel Shifty. I also looked at the Intellijel Shifty. It's such a nice module. And noticed that it has a shift register sequential switch for gates as well as CV. Interested to see how you might utilize sequential gates in your patches. Actually, here I have sequential gates. How would I utilize them? That's a good question. So first of all, I looked at this module, and it has also a random function, so it can jump from one step or one switch to another, which means you can use it perfectly for sort of generative random patches. So this is something you can do. Another thing you can do is hocketing, which is perfect with the Shifty, because you can just send the gate to different voices. You know what, let's try and do this. Let's send... Yeah, but basically I would use it for generative stuff or more random patches. I will use another pitch information to... I have here plats. Let's just see that it's tuned. And let's call it tuned. So this will go to the volt per octave, and now I'll use one gate. So I have your Moog slicer. Again, let's start from the beginning. I have Moog slicer here, which is also a sequential switch. It has a gate output for each of the channels, so I can send each channel. It has 8 channels, each step I can send to a different voice. So I'm going to send the first gate output. You know what? Do I have logic here? I don't have logic here, so I cannot really combine gates. Never mind, I can mix them also, but you know what, let's do this, let's mix them. I mean, a mixer is not something you will use usually for mixing gates, but it doesn't matter because they will not happen at the same time. So I will use the first gate. I have here the ST mix from Befaco, and I will use 1 and let's say 4, and maybe another one, let's say 7. Oh, palach. So because they will not happen at the same time, I'm not really mixing them, I'm just sort of combining them. 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go with 7. Okay, and now this I will send to trigger plats. So now it will sequentially trigger our lovely plats, and let's send this to the microcell or to magneto. Microcell or magneto? Microcell or magneto? I don't know, let's go with magneto actually. Magneto, then I can use this. Let's go with just 1. So, yes, the Shifty looks really interesting. Looks really interesting. Sequential switch, and also a shift register. It's also a shift register, it can also be cool. Maybe I should make a video about sequential gate sequences or something like this. Can also be interesting. But yeah, definitely for generative or random patches can be quite cool. And hocketing also, I think the video I watched from Intellijel, the first thing they showed was hocketing, which is quite cool because you just use one sequence to trigger all sorts of different modules. Can be quite interesting. So let's see, this is this channel here. This is in FM mode, which I really like. This one. Cool. So we have another voice. Let's say, just a second. Hi. A longer envelope, just. And let's take it all the way wet. Lovely, lovely magneto. wow and flutter. And let's actually, instead of normal delay, let's go to shift mode. Maybe it will add some nice harmonics here. And now it needs a bit more reverb. I always find Magneto in need for reverb. So let's use, I will use the host effects and I will use the super massive. And let's go with the splashy synth. I like this preset. Just change it a bit. And let's see. So yeah, with sequential gates, that's a subject for a whole video, and it's an interesting module, the Shifty from Intellijel, especially because of this random feature. This is something I do a lot in VCV. The Moog slicer doesn't have a random feature, but I can run it randomly with CV, so I can address it with CV, for example, from the voltage block, so it can also run randomly, basically. Frogs, some kalimba, nice bass, really cool. Nothing unorthodox here, but okay, let's see the next question. I think there is just one more. Which one? This was 6. Yes, there is one more, one last question. Jimmy G. Hi, Jimmy G. Might only be a short piece, but I'd be interested to know your process once you've done all the creative stuff and got a patch that you want to record out and release. Do you export as stems or record down as one piece? Then what do you do to treat, master, and prepare for release? I guess also connected to that is the topic of self-releasing versus releasing on a label. I never release something on a label. I only release stuff by myself on Bandcamp. I hope one day to release something with a label. This can happen and can be interesting. But let's start from the beginning. Do you export as stems? So here, this is exactly how I work. This is perfect actually. I have the ES9 and I send everything, I multi-track everything to the different inputs here, and then this is going to VCV rack. From VCV rack, it's again multi-tracking into Reaper. You can see Reaper here, something here is... Okay, so this is Reaper. I send everything into Reaper, again multi-tracking everything, and I record it. I multi-track record everything, each voice or couple of voices, depending how many voices I have, and if I mix anything, they go to their own channel. So yes, I'm multi-tracking again with the ES9, with the laptop. This computer is only for music. I don't even have internet here. It's on flight mode the whole time. It's only for music. I'm only using VCV rack here and Reaper. And this is again how I record. And then I take this recording and take it to the other computer, to the desktop computer. Load it also in Reaper. I work with Reaper because it's an amazing piece of software. And yeah, and then I'm taking it and I'm loading it in Reaper. One thing I 99% or 98% or 95% of the time I record everything live. Just like as you see here, I just build a patch that I'm happy with and I record the patch live, perform it live. I don't like, and I wish I could do something like this, but I don't like editing in a DAW. I don't like arranging in a DAW. It's just not inspiring for me. Again, I wish I could do something like this because the possibilities are endless. So what I'm doing, I'm recording everything live, performing live, again, 95, 98% of the time. Sometimes I add voices that I thought that are missing, like my flute, for example, sometimes, or sometimes I remove things that are just noisy and I didn't notice them, and noises at all sorts of clicks and pops that you don't hear while you are patching, but they are there in the recording. So this is what I do then in Reaper. I will show you Reaper again. So this is what I do then in Reaper, and then all what I'm doing is I'm mixing the voices the best as I can. I try to do the mixing. I mean, for me, this is a whole subject, but to me, mixing is a part of the creative process, is a part of patching, is a part of building your song. You start mixing already from your first voice, from the choices you make, which notes to play. For example, notes are frequencies. If you play lower notes, you have more lower frequencies. If you play multiple voices with the same notes, you have a lot of voices in the same frequency range. The mixing part is always, to me, starting already when I'm patching, already the choices I make, the voices I build. So mixing, when I say mixing in Reaper later on, all what I mean is a bit of leveling and some EQ just to get rid of different frequencies that should not be there. I really seldom is this a word? I don't do this often. I don't add frequencies. Usually what I will do, I will subtract frequencies with an EQ if there is a need. I will sidechain also sometimes. I have to make something, maybe once I will make a video about this. I sidechain also sometimes. How is it called? Band EQs. How is it called? Sidechaining band EQs or something like this. So I'm not sidechaining the whole voice, I'm just sidechaining different bands, frequency bands. So this is what I call the mixing process. I don't do it so much because I don't enjoy it, and also I don't have the tools. I never learned to do something like this. I just use my ears and I say, okay, this sounds nice, and I move on. Mastering, I cannot say that I'm mastering my stuff because I don't really. Again, I don't have the tools for this. But yeah, I master them. I mean, by master, all what I mean is I bring it into a certain level that I'm happy with. Maybe a bit of saturation, maybe a bit of EQ, just slightly, really nothing big. And I also master my own things. Again, once I hope to give the mastering process to someone else. I did it once. Actually, there is an album, it's called Cosmic Foundry. If you go to Bandcamp, Cosmic Foundry was mastered by someone else. It's Artem. Maybe you know him, VCVREC Ideas. He has a channel, VCVREC Ideas. And he offered to master this album, and I said yes, and it sounds amazing. I'm really happy with the result. It sounds warm and round, something that I by myself could never reach because I don't have the tools for this. I hope, and I'm sure that Artem has the tools for this. Yeah, so this is mastering. It's weird, I have to be honest. What do you do to treat master and prepare for release? I don't know. It's I mean, we spoke about mastering, but to release, what does it mean when you release something? Is a YouTube video also a release? Is just releasing on a label a release? Just on Bandcamp a release? Just when you sell the music is a release? I don't know. I try to make the best that I can. I'm not someone who will sit on a sound for a week. I will do whatever I can and I will move on. I'm not sitting on something, on one thing for so long. I'm not enjoying it. I want to have fun. And for me, the performance is much more important than the sound itself. Of course, if the sound is crackly and clicky and it sounds bad, of course, it will not go out. But you know what I mean. Yeah. So releasing versus releasing on a label. I never released on a label. I hope it will happen once. I don't know why, actually. I hope, because I'm not so sure what it will, what's the difference. Because at the end, it's the same music. I'm not going to make different music for a certain label. I'm going to make what the music that I feel that I want to make. Yeah, so this is more or less it. This was the last question. I want to play a bit more on top, maybe record something to the looper here. I feel like recording something to the looper, so I will just take the looper out. Let's take it to microcell actually. So this was the last question. Thank you so much, Patreons, for your questions. Thank you so much for your support. I hope this is a nice way, a nice approach for making these videos. I tried to record myself again speaking to the camera, but it's really not my thing. I think it's also quite boring just to watch and see me speak. So I thought patching in the meanwhile and making some sound. I mean, all in all, at the end of the day, it's all about the sound. It's all about the music. This is the most important. So I thought this will be more interesting. Let me know, please, what do you think about this. Again, if you're a Patreon, check out the Discord channel, because there are the monthly challenges there that are interesting. Again, after this video, I will put the submissions for the last challenge. If you are not a Patreon, consider joining us at Patreon. It's really a lovely environment, and I'm really appreciating everything. Let's go with the Mellotron. Let's record the flute of the Mellotron and take it down a few octaves. As you can see, by the way, we spoke about this before, about the modules. I have here on my laptop only, I'm saying only because on the other computer I have many more. I have here around 950 modules. So I didn't install everything on the laptop, and on the other computer there are more than 2,000. Also the VSTs, as you can see here, I have the Juno 6, the Mellotron from Arturia, I have felt instruments, and I have Supermassive. That's it. I don't have so many options like I have on the other computer. This is my music making computer. I don't need options. I need restrictions. I need something that I go and I use often. I use again and again, also to get my sound and also to get to know the instruments and know their strengths and weaknesses. All what I'm doing here is I'm using the Arturia Kiste Pro. I'm going to play the flute a bit on the Mellotron. So I'm just going to send this. Everything is ready for me, as you can see. I'm just going to send this. I'm just going to send this to the ES9, and from the ES9, this is then going. Let me see just the recording for a second. It's not Uber clipping. And this actually I can just use a mono signal, because I'm just going to use a mono recording channel here. Let's see, let's go with this one actually. And let's see what's going on. Okay, this is a nice level. And this is going here, and this is going here. Let's see that everything is connected. Yeah. So it's all about the music. It's all about the sound. This is the Mellotron, by the way. Let's record a nice loop and play it in different ways. Very cool. Now we play it back. Let's take it an octave down, maybe even reverse. Weird clicks and pops. So we have another voice. So this is a nice patch, a nice ambient. Thank you again for watching. I will play with this a bit and then I will play also the submissions from the last challenge. Patrons, thank you again so much for your support and cheers.
Excellent.
Excellent. Outgo. 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 Excellent. Excellent. Great. Incredible. Great. Excellent. Unreal. Excellent. 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 Outgo. Great. And excellent. Incredible. Excellent. Excellent. Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Unreal. Excellent. 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 Great.
Outgo.
Right. Right.
Excellent. Wow.
Outgo.
Incredible. Excellent.